Hello, Phil. Whereabouts are you today?
I'm at home, Matthew. There's
What
a
is it funny?
surprise.
Yeah, but where?
I'm in Dollar, which is in Clackmannanshire, called the Wee County in Scotland, which is near Stirling, which I know currency dollar sterling, which is in between Glasgow and Edinburgh.
Okay,
All
in
places.
Scotlandshire. Right, okay.
Scotlandshire, yeah.
I'm in my house in Shropshire in England. So, Phil, obviously, we're going through an unusual time right now. We're in the UK. We are not allowed to leave our houses unless it's to go to the shop or the doctor or something like that. And when I say the shop, I mean to buy food, not frivolous things
Or
like
walk the dog. You're allowed out once a
you're
day.
allowed, yeah,
Yeah.
once a day for exercise.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you see the thing in Italy where the guy had the toy dog on a lead, was
no,
dragging it along the road to justify being out? I'm going to do that as well. We've got a
you've got a
fake
real dog though.
fluff. We have a real dog, but there's two of us, so we want out twice a
Oh,
day. Once we'll drag a fake dog along, and then we'll take out the real dog.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry, you
Okay.
can cut that out.
It's a plan. So uh, you're the head of a fairly large developer relations team at Vonage, and I just wanted to talk to you about how this situation is affecting you your team from a point of view of um, actually managing to do the things that you'd planned to and meeting your strategic goals. And also how it's affected you as a team from a sense of morale and those sorts of things. So, what are the impacts that you've immediately had to deal with?
Okay, I mean beyond the human impact, which is obviously everybody's very concerned. We have had someone on the team with coronavirus as well, which isn't surprising given that there's a lot of travel. So there is, a genuine health concern, both physically and mentally. I think probably long term, the mental health concern is the most. So the first thing we're doing is just making sure that people have time to adjust. They know they've got that time to adjust, to work out how this lockdown and everything else going on in the world impacts them. So that's the first thing. I mean, that's not obviously strategy and getting stuff done, but that is obviously fundamental. If you accept that you're a team of human beings and treat people as such, and let the human factor come first, and support people, then that will allow later the business side to work. But obviously, interestingly, during this time, the fact that people have a job and a role to do can be a nice distraction away from what's going on in the world. I think as with a lot of developer relations teams, there is a reasonable element of in-person work that we do. Certainly with this year, we've hired some people, this and a little bit towards last year, we hired some people to focus on specific locations, which was definitely a focus on in-person. So that's completely gone. Obviously, we get involved in all the major kind of language events that we can around the world. So those aren't possible anymore. So everything's digital, right? So any kind of community engagement is digital. Where, I mean, our team, there are developer relations roles spread across a team of 40 people, where there are some product managers, technical writers. There's a lot of engineers, but there's one person who focuses on purely engineering. We look after the server SDKs, interact with our APIs. And then we have a developer education team who's focused mainly on digital anyway. So people that kind of do the engineering roles, it would be content anyway. Their days are kind of as normal because we're a remote and distributed team. We have a few people that are based out of offices. They obviously don't go into the offices anymore. We've closed all offices. So, I mean, we're a communications company. We have a product called Vonage Meetings, which is a video platform, an app. We have OpenTalk, the Vonage Video API, which is obviously programmable video. So we can all work remotely. So we can kind of, those that don't do events, it's less of an impact, except for those people that kind of work out of offices, maybe directly with engineers in those offices. But everyone else, I mean, everybody's basically focused on content. So it's video content. There's a lot more Twitch work going on. Some Twitch streams. Michael Jolly, in particular, who's building up his stream, is very funny. and definitely worth having a look at his stream, what he's doing at the minute. He sang a song the other day about you've got to have auth rather than you've got to have faith. So that sort of stuff. Maybe he's going slightly crazy in these times, but I think he's like that anyway. So ultimately, we're trying to focus on the things we can do, go digital. From the community perspective, obviously a lot of events are going online. We're trying to support, so we're trying to do some stuff ourselves, but we're also trying to support any communities that want to go online. Actually, not directly with our technology. That wasn't the plan. We don't want to be capitalizing on such a bad time. So we're just trying to say, okay, well, we found a platform, we're going to use it, and we're reaching out to some organizers to say, hey, can we help you? We're paying for this platform. You're welcome to use it. So whether that's small meetups through to conferences, and then how that aligns with the goals. We still.
Well, before we get onto that,
Yeah.
how would people get in touch with you if they are taking an event online and they'd like to work with you?
Okay, yeah, so you can tweet at Vonage Dev, which is we changed from Nexmo Dev to Vonage Dev, or drop me an email, phil.leggetter@vonage.com or community@vonage.com. So a variety of different ways. As I said, we don't want to capitalize on this. I think it's really bad. It's not the right thing to do, but obviously if we can help people, we will. Yeah. Okay, so on to aligning with strategic goals. There's a few interesting things this year. We've rebranded from Nexmo to Vonage, so we want to be raising awareness. Events are a good way of doing that. Digital is also a very, very good way of doing that. So the focus continues to be there. Content creation, Twitch, some pre-recorded videos that can be reused. Those are really important to drive awareness. Obviously, digital, again, if it's certain types of content, it's great for driving awareness, but also acquisition. People follow tutorials, sign up. So that stuff's really good. It's going to be quite interesting to see the effect of this, because it could drive more signups than other months. In which sense, if the business looks at the stats, might go, okay, well, let's focus on doing this. But I think you've got to get that balance right between in person and the kind of word of mouth awareness in combination with the digital side of things, which is obviously much easier to track.
Well, what role were events playing in your plan up until like a couple of weeks ago?
It was quite a big part of. I mean, we have 1, 2, 3. So 3 community managers, and then even people in kind of developer education roles occasionally get involved in events. But we have SDK, programming language advocates who obviously do. Chris Tankersley does his PHP event, and so on. So we have language advocates in kind of that way. But I would say it's probably about 20% of people's time, really. So it's still reasonable, and obviously the cost of the travel and the cost of the sponsorship is still reasonable. But in terms of what role it plays, it really is, for me, it's awareness. And I know and in terms of tracking, to be honest with you, we are starting to think about how we track some of this stuff better. And that's always ongoing. But in person, I think as long as it's not such a massive part of your strategy, I think you don't need to justify it quite as much. We're not the marketing team. We don't spend anywhere near as much as a traditional marketing team does on ginormous booths and things like that. It's smaller developer events. It's continued visibility and support of these communities, and I really believe in the word of mouth side of things. One of the reasons we have programming language advocates is because there's value not just in terms of them knowing and supporting that community, but the conversations they can have and the value that they bring back into the product. So in many ways, I see it as a research exercise, and to keep up to speed with what the program that the developers in certain communities care about, so that we can make sure we serve them in the product side. So and I think 20% of the time on that sort of thing is highly justifiable, almost with that alone.
Okay. we've seen in the past couple of days that O'Reilly Media are closing down their events business, not just for now, but it seems forever, or at least for the foreseeable. What long-term impacts are you expecting to come out of this? Obviously, we can't predict the future, but we've seen a different way of doing. Well, lots of people are working from home for the first time, but for developer relations specifically, we're being forced to rethink some of our assumptions, about the importance of in-person events and so on. So what do you expect to happen, both for the Vonage developer relations program, but more generally for DevRel, for everyone?
Mm-hmm. I do think we'll see more events going online. Excuse me. There's Laracon Online, which has been running for a number of years, and it's always been a very good event from a very traceable and trackable perspective. It's always been a very good event for us. It's funny, they send out like a PDF or a pack, digital pack to people of swag. So there's not a T-shirt, there's not a pen, there's a coupon code, and that the usage of that coupon code for our platform is way above any of the in-person events. So you can very clearly trace it and map it back to some form of ROI. And then obviously once you've used that coupon code, you can see how that account grows and the revenue that it brings to the organization. But I think what it will show is that it's possible to run these events online. You can probably get more people with these online. Laracon Online is massive, as an example. I think there's about 3,000 people. The events themselves, I've been to 300 person event, 500 person event, and so on. So you get a lot more people at those events. It's very trackable. It's possible. The ROI is very clear and measurable. So, but I don't think it will reduce the number of in-person events. I think we'll see. I think because organizers will see it's possible to do these things online. They'll see good attendance, good viewing of these events. Speakers will be more comfortable speaking at a screen. I think we will need better platforms to allow a speaker to feel engaged with an audience of some sort. I did a talk the other day, and it was weird. I was just talking to the screen. It was through WebEx or something, and it just didn't. There wasn't like a little video of me being able to see the audience. So I was just basically talking to myself, which as a speaker, it is quite difficult. And it doesn't replace that standing in front of an audience and getting feedback from them and feeding off them. But so I think we'll see this trend to more online conferences. I think therefore a developer relations program should follow that and should go where the developers are. I think any companies that run their own events will also consider, we can do that online too. But I think there'll be a hybrid. I think we've seen this quite a bit, right? We've seen that conferences can run an in-person event, but then also have something simultaneously. They live stream. They can probably have that combined online and offline thing. So yes, reduction in the number of in-person events. I think an increase in the number of online events. There are still only so many events that you can really be involved in, and I do think there's a point at which there are just too many events in communities. So there's always going to be a plateau there anyway. And then obviously we're going to have to see which events can come back following this, because there are definitely a lot of companies that have made a big outlay and can't recoup that, and therefore that company gone. So I think that'll obviously be disappointing. We'll have to see who can come back from this.
What would you say to other people running developer relations programs who are now facing a situation they almost certainly weren't planning for, based on what you've learned over the past couple of weeks of reacting rapidly to this situation?
Be safe, and obviously think about people first, and then from that foundation, the business element will come if you treat people right. I do think it's adapted. If you look at the activities that the developer relations team will undertake, there are many of them which don't have to be in person. So execute on those and think about alignment with your goals with those activities that can be done digitally. obviously it's really important that that there's still some social interaction as part of this. You don't want to be throwing teams purely into blog post creation and recording videos. There isn't that human to human interaction. So obviously within the team itself, make sure that there's lots of opportunity for people to speak, to interact, but also take this opportunity to maybe do some one-on-ones with customers, to try and do your own, kind of more interactive events, thinking about the mental health of your team and also the mental health of developers around the world that you're ultimately there to serve. So I think also support those things, whether that's supporting digital packs or creating these interactive opportunities, or just promoting positive mental health initiatives. I think that's super important. I do get that there will be some companies that aren't in the same situation that we're in, that they've put in big plans around meetups around. You often see developer relations teams go, right, well, we're doing a tour, we're doing meetups around the world. It's very difficult to replace that plan of in-person events, but I guess you can again shift to online. You can get in touch with us if you're thinking about doing that as well, to enable you to, okay, well, it's not an in-person event in Sydney and an in-person event in Singapore. Instead, it's, well, we'll do a meetup and we'll invite people from these specific regions. Yeah, sorry.
Great, thanks. All right, well, anything else you want to add, or?
No, not really. I think it's the message has to be stay safe. It has to be think about the human impact of this first. Treat people right, and then business will come. As I said, I do think that the job we do, and any job in particular, but our job is definitely you can definitely do it online, and it gives people a nice distraction away from what's going on in the world. So support the individuals on your team, allow them to work out and adjust in these crazy times. But again, we're very fortunate that we can do a lot of our work online, and our work can be done at different hours at different times. And I think we're very fortunate that we can still achieve many of the goals that developer relations teams have through mediums that don't rely on in-person contact. I think as I said, the main thing around the in-person contact or video is that it's helping people maintain a positive level of mental health. So no, just be safe is really my main message.
Okay, well, thanks, Phil. Remain indoors, wash your hands, and see you on the internet.
Yep, thanks, Matthew. Cheers.